Welcome to Creepypasta. Please like, share and subscribe. This will help us make more content for you. Thank you.
Please help. I've switched dimensions and I need to go back. I'm 24 and I'm positive I've jumped to another dimension. I'm not trolling, I'm not joking. I'm dead serious and I need help. I'm new to all of this, and I didn't do this on purpose. So, it starts with my little sister's boyfriend. My family swears we knew him before he and her were dating. He has tons of memories with me, but I didn't know him until she brought him home one day. I have no memory of him whatsoever. It bothered me, but I brushed it off. Then, my friend Cheyenne was telling me about this time she hung out with me and my friend Ashley, how we made cheesecake, sang karaoke, and tons of other things. I thought she was joking because I have no memories of it at all. None. But I called Ashley, and she remembers it and is confused as to why I don't. And I feel like I'd remember that because Cheyenne and Ashley aren't friends. Like, different social circles. They only met because of me. So why wouldn't I remember us all hanging out? Next, I was talking to my friend Carrie and I asked her why our friend from high school got divorced. She told me our friend Nicole was never married, she just lived with the guy. But I know Nicole married the guy because she invited me to the wedding and I couldn't get off work to go and I felt bad. I remember where they got married, I remember her dress, I remember what the cake looked like, I remember the pictures of it and everything. But it never happened. But I remember it happening. I remember seeing the pictures on Facebook, and I went back to look, but they aren't there. And finally, my relationship with my boyfriend has always been amazing. We have our moments like any other couple, but nothing major. We've always had a good relationship. But it all changed all of a sudden. Literally, I woke up one day and everything was different. He's very hateful, very rude, and not affectionate at all. He's always been very affectionate with me, but now he barely even gives me attention and this just isn't normal for us. Those are the major things, but there's smaller things too. Like, lyrics to songs being slightly different when I know that it's wrong. Especially songs that I love and listen to all the time, they're slightly different now. I do have anxiety and borderline personality disorder, full disclosure. But I've always been able to manage them and I've never experienced something like this before. I don't think it's my mental illnesses. I just don't know what to do, and I don't like it here. Any help, advice, anything is greatly appreciated.
Comments. My friend is missing part of his right frontal lobe. Just born without it. He didn't find out until his early 20s, when he woke up one day, called our friend, and asked when her flight got in because she was coming up to visit him in New York. She had to tell him she just got home. She stayed with him for 10 days and they went to museums and parties and whatever. Turns out he'd had a seizure, but the kind where you function fine but lose time. Totally manageable condition now, but it was real weird for a bit. Anyway, I'd get that brain scan just in case.
Did you recently experience a traumatic experience? I was in a bad car accident and survived. Everything changed instantly. Relationships seem to go opposite, similar to what you mentioned.
I was almost in an accident, but it was really weird. I was turning, and I looked before turning and there were no vehicles coming, but as I was turning, a car came out of nowhere, had to swerve pretty bad to miss me, and then it's like the car disappeared, because I didn't see it after that. I looked behind me, and down the street to make sure they didn't wreck, and they were gone.
Going to start by suggesting immediately calling your doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, whoever you see, for the diagnoses you stated in your post, and telling them what is going on. I am not saying that in a demeaning, insulting way at all. I have diagnoses of my own. But I also want to ask whether there is someone you are close to who you can ask whether or not they recall you actually being in an accident, whether it be a car accident similar to the one you just described narrowly avoiding, and any other kind of serious accident. I saw a similar post to yours somewhere else, cannot remember where, and they had a similar recollection of a near-miss accident, followed by similar instances of changed realities, missing memories, altered memories. It turned out that they actually were in the accident, they were in the hospital for a while but improved drastically and were released. Then all of the perceived strangeness started happening, they finally talked to their parents about it, and their parents immediately rushed them back to the doctor or hospital because it turned out that they had missed something going on in the person's brain when they were released. I hate to even mention that because I don't want it to end up freaking you out or anything. I would definitely say it is important to try to remain calm right now, and take some rational steps towards exploring some possibilities. Again, I am not insinuating anything negative about you at all. Just genuinely concerned and hoping there is an explanation so that you can get everything resolved. Sincerely hope you get everything figured out. Please keep us all posted.
There are a lot of stories of the same thing happening to people, where they almost get into a car accident, or some other kind of accident where they basically die or almost die. Then they either end up in the time right before it happened and it doesn't happen, or everything disappears instead of it happening. After the event there are random things in their life that are different. I've never heard of anyone going back to the universe they came from though, so I don't know what to tell you, sorry. At least you know you're not alone in this experience though. I was still talking to my friend on the phone, when she texted me, "Call me back ASAP." So this event happened on October 7, 2019 at 5:46 p.m. and I'll briefly try to describe it. I was on my way to running some errands, riding in my car while on the phone with this friend. I remember the weather being super weird, cloudy but hot. I don't really know how to describe it, but it felt like the air had some kind of heaviness to it. While I was talking to her, she said a few sentences to which I replied in agreement. Suddenly she starts saying the same exact sentences she just said 30 seconds earlier, only in a different tone and pace. It really sounded like she was repeating herself and not like the actual voice glitched and repeated, which is what made it even creepier. So at this point everything became fuzzy and weird, almost as if I lost sense of time. In the meantime I heard my messages ringtone going off a few times through the earpiece, but I decided to check them out later on. So I go on and tell her I'm pretty sure that she already said to me all of those things, and the most unsettling thing is that her voice would stop whenever I tried telling her, as if she was actually listening, but would continue on as soon as I'd go silent, without saying anything regarding the fact she was repeating herself over and over. It was like talking to someone who was purposely trying not to answer. It felt incredibly odd, especially considering each sentence was slightly different than the previous one but the meaning kept on being the same. That's when I lost her completely. The line gets cut off and I go check the messages I received earlier. Turns out they were actually from her. 2 of them were missed calls and the last one said I should call her back as soon as I could. I was still actively talking to her while at the same time she was asking me to call her back. Definitely one of the most bizarre things that's ever happened to me.
Comments. I've had this exact thing happen to me several years ago, while on the phone with my girlfriend, during a babysitting job. Weird things had already happened in the house earlier on, so I was sitting downstairs and talking to her on the phone while the kids slept. All of a sudden, the voice started to distort and get really scary, so I got freaked out and hung up and called back. I apologized and explained what happened, but she had told me the call dropped out like over 10 minutes before that. I put it totally out of my mind until now, and it's weird to hear it happen to someone else. I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
I was talking to my mom on our cell phones. Suddenly I could hear a guy screaming, "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday," with a call sign, don't remember the call sign, of his plane. He was saying that his plane was going down in the Sierra Mountains. I could not talk to him, just heard his panicked screaming and location. My mother did not hear this at all. I do live very close to the Sierras, and later learned that a small plane had crashed in the Sierras. I believe this man to be Steve Fawcett, who crashed in the Sierras.
Do you have a creepy story? Please share it with us in the comments, and we will post it on the channel. Please subscribe. Thank you.